October Rutherford County Public Safety Meeting. Looks like we got that somewhere near a full house tonight. The sheriff isn't even in here yet. Officer Cook back there may be taking over for everybody tonight. We'll start and I'll entertain a motion on the minutes from the last meeting.
Mr. Chairman, I have read over the minutes, and unless there are any corrections or additions, I move that be approved.
Second.
We got a motion and a second. Are there any corrections? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay. Emergency management, Mr. Cass, is it your anniversary? It seems like this, you only get to go first when it's your
No.
anniversary.
I wondered why I got to go first too, but you know, I'm not gonna question it.
Okay.
Y'all have my report in front of you. Fairly normal month. We only had one call out. However, there were a couple of them that didn't make the report or weren't called out, where I discussed it with local jurisdictions about calling us out. Those that probably should have. Biggest thing we got involved with in the past month was, of course, the preparations along with the fire departments as far as support to the Carolinas for Hurricane Matthew. That Tennessee did not get the call, fortunately. There was a lot of back and forth on that. In the interest of time, I'll move on to our upcoming events. We've got a few things from training for us at MFRD is organized with Atmos Energy. So then go on gas leak calls, a little bit of a refresher on that, on what to expect from Atmos in those cases. You also see the EMAC conference, which is the Emergency Management Association of Tennessee Conference in Chattanooga again this year. I'll be attending that with a couple members of my staff. Laverne Safety Meeting, and the CART tabletop exercise is a child abduction response team exercise, which we're a part of. And the last thing on there, like I told you before, our CSX tabletop got moved to the 14th of December. Subject questions, that completes my report. I got about 3 other things to talk about.
Any questions for TK? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Move to approve.
Second. A motion and a second. It was a pretty healthy tractor trailer wreck, wasn't it?
Yes, sir, it was. The other thing, there's 3 things I'd like to ask you. First is a grant. This is a normal
Let us go ahead.
Oh, sorry.
I'm usually one who forgets that.
Yeah.
Okay. All in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries.
Sorry about that. I get ahead of myself. The first thing that you should have in front of you is the EMPG grant. This is a normal every year grant. This is the same amount we got the previous year. Most counties in the state of Tennessee participate in it. It's Emergency Management Performance Grant. It requires us to do some basic staff functions and emergency management agency functions. We do quarterly reports and yearly reports. We set goals. For instance, these exercises you see, you have to do a minimum number of those. We never have a problem with that because the minimum number is 3, and we'll do that in a quarter. So it's not that hard to hit it. Like I said, this is what we get every year. I just need y'all's approval for some of those commissions so the mayor can sign it.
You heard the request. Any questions?
Question, is this up or down from previous years?
The same.
Same.
Well, they increased our amount 2 years ago by about $5,000, and they haven't increased it since. I ask every year, but it doesn't get increased that much.
Now, the begin date says 2015, is that wrong? Did I misunderstand?
No, they do everything in arrears.
Okay, gotcha.
That's what's frustrating about some of the
Yeah,
stuff is.
okay.
I would think that right now we'd be talking about the 2017
Yeah,
contract, but I won't see that till the middle of the year next year.
Okay. Make a motion, Mr. Chairman, that we approve it as presented.
We have a motion
Second.
and we have a second. Involves money, so go ahead and call her. And all signatures are part of the motion, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And we're forwarding it to budget.
Okay.
Commissioner Gurley,
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper,
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy,
Yes.
Commissioner Reed,
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno,
Yes.
Commissioner Turner,
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer.
Yes.
Okay. The other two things I mentioned last month, no, we're not going to go through these page by page. The smaller one is the mitigation plan, and the larger one is the basic emergency operations plan. Like I also said last month, the intention was not to bring both these at the same time. It just fell out that way. Once every 5 years, both these plans have to be updated and approved by not only the county commission, but the councils in all the cities. So it was hung out where y'all could see it. Hopefully you were able to access it. I'm here to answer any questions you might have about it. But I was hoping to get a vote on this from y'all today so it can go to the full commission. And I guess y'all probably want to vote on them separately, but
Could you tell me what's on page 37? No.
Of the big one?
I'd have to look it up. I will tell you that on the BEOP, Tim Hooker, who's my assistant director, wrote it and has always been the one that's written it. And he got a really nice letter. I don't know if we provided that last month where Mr. Perky said it was the best one he'd seen written. He does a great job on this type of thing. He also is the primary author of the mitigation plan. So, and like I said, these normally don't change a lot unless you have a major event, in which case then you review it and make huge, and we just haven't.
I'll start out by making a motion to approve the mitigation plan as submitted.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions for Mr. Cass? None? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And we got
The BEOP, the Basic Emergency Operations Plan.
Follow that up with a motion to approve the basic emergency operations plan as submitted, all however many hundred pages.
543.
We got a motion.
Second.
Second. Any questions? All in favor, saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Amen.
I was hoping it was going to take an hour or so.
It's a good thing we had somebody that can remember those
Yeah.
initials on them, too.
He's seen these before.
I know. Thank
Y'all
you.
have a good
Have a
evening.
You too, thank you.
Fire and rescue. Chief Farley.
The first report is the year-to-date report from January the 1st until last Friday. So far this year, we've had 43 structure fires. Year-to-date, we've had 632 medical runs, 232 motor vehicle accidents with injuries, 133 motor vehicle accidents with no injuries, and 21 extrications. We actually did have to cut on the vehicle for a total of 1,795 calls for my department, the county department of it.
On your 21 burnings, the unauthorized ones, 561. I bet any of those caused a problem?
Yeah, we've had numerous amount of, unauthorized burning really is just people who are burning illegal materials.
Oh,
Such other things such as vegetation, but we've had a lot of grass fires, multiple grass fires.
I can attest from my previous employment that people will try to burn everything that's been manufactured. And I've been to a mountain almost the size of this room of TV sets set on fire. And, people try to burn metal.
Well, I'm not about anything.
So it's,
For the month of October, we had 4 structure fires. We did 80 medical runs, 24 motor vehicle accidents. That's just pedestrian. So we've had 24 pedestrians hit. We've had we had a motor vehicle accident with no injuries. We had 6, and we've had 1 extrication this month for a total of 209 calls.
The pedestrian was just one.
yeah.
Was it?
Yeah.
Was it wrong?
It just, his injuries was 24.
Okay, yeah. Sorry. Yeah, thank you. Yeah, 24 accidents with injuries.
Scared to walk across the street.
The last month, Commissioner Nipper asked me to give a report of how many runs Walker Hill had. I did run that report and email it to everybody, but since he asked me, I thought I would make a special point of bringing it out tonight. The full-time staff, 24/7, went into effect July the 14th, and which is a little less than 3 months. And during that time, just that station alone has run 365 calls. They've actually done 179 medical calls, 60 motor vehicle accidents with injuries, 24 without. So they've been pretty busy out there. The next report is a motor vehicle accident for the month of October. We had 52 total MVAs, for average response time of 10.5 minutes. And I believe one on Horton Highway right there was the one that pedestrian was hit and they had the light flying out of the eagle. Next report shows all the call volume and runs, training and everything for all the departments of the county. So far this year, we've had a total of 2,393 calls. Had so far 61 structure fires and 50 brush fires. So that's up to it's understandably as dry as it is. Vehicle fires, 44. We've actually had 4 swiftwater rescues this month and 566 MVAs, 27 of those with extrications. And then it shows the training hours for each department.
Where did you find the swift water rescue?
Those were at Walker Hill Dam.
Down on the dam and
Of course, that was us, and we working with EMS, so we partner with them on and work together with them growing. The next report is what we sent to the County Coast Department for structure fires. Just the other morning on Bedrock, about 5 o'clock in the morning, which is out in the Walker Hill area, they had a report of a structure fire. Because of that station being there full time, they were there in 3 minutes and contained that fire to one room. In the whole house, the only room was damaged was the bedroom where the fire started. And they were on the scene about 30 minutes. So and that's pretty significant when you consider that a fire grows, it doubles in size every 60 seconds. So if it had been a 12-minute response time, it would have been through the roof. The next report is, of course, the investigations done by our fire investigator on each fires we've had, and those show the address and what caused the fire was and what the disposition of the case is.
Was the house on Bedrock occupied?
Nope. And we had 3 points of origin. So that's pretty much a red flag right there. And that concludes my report.
Questions, Chief Farley?
I got one. Chief Farley, tell me what station handles mainly Eagleville area?
Station 1.
Station
Well,
1.
we assist, I would say we assist. Station 1 off Barker responds to backup people.
Okay, because I was wondering, because I had, this past weekend, I had a volunteer fireman tell me that Walter Hill stayed out in the Eagleville area mainly. And I thought that was kind of questionable and kind of funny.
No, that's on the opposite side of the county.
That's what I thought.
I
It's like-
think they made a mistake.
Okay, I thought they did, but I just wanted to ask you about it.
No further questions. We'll entertain a motion on the report.
Motion to approve his report.
Second.
A motion and a second. No further questions. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Have a
Thank
good
you.
evening, sir.
Thank you.
Ms. Duke, juvenile detention.
Good evening.
Hello.
All right, you have in front of you the reports for September. I will happily answer any questions regarding any of the reports. I'm happy to report that our positivity rate for September was down compared to last month, and that's a good thing. But besides that, or any questions that you might have regarding our open house, I'll be happy to answer any of them.
Your rap sheet back there, the ages that are included, is that 14 to 17 that come in, or you don't take anybody in over 17?
There are situations where we detain 18-year-olds if they come in as a 17-year-old or have a petition that's active as a 17-year-old. The juvenile court can still maintain jurisdiction over some 18-year-olds. Generally, unless there's a situation that would otherwise cause her not to, she generally sends the young people that still need to be detained once they turn 18 to the adult detention facility.
Thank you. So when we get to more serious ones on here, that means they're definitely juveniles then, is what I was wanting to make sure.
Yes, all of these are young people. These are not adults. Now, there could be a violation of probation on somebody that has since turned 18 that they just need to wrap up some court costs on. So there could be a violation of probation of someone who's 18. But in general, these are all under the age of 18.
The people that work for you, do they go through some of the same training as a deputy would?
No, we are not certified law enforcement officers. We have a 40-hour pre-service. We have and then an additional 40-hour in-service for the first year that they're employed with us, and then every year after that they have 40 hours of reoccurring training.
Further questions from Ms. Duke? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
I move to approve a report.
Second. A motion, second. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Correctional Work Center. They elected you.
Superintendent Solandi is at a training seminar, so I'll be his slightly larger stand-in today.
Okay.
think you all have a copy of our work center reports. The first is going to be the meetings from our last board meeting held on October 3rd. No significant changes since last month. The second is going to be the state litter pickup for September. And no significant changes there either for the last month. We are still going pretty well on absorbing those DUI litter pickups that went by the wayside. Third is going to be the activity report for our work release program. No changes on that, it's still going very well. And then finally is our yearly activity report with no changes since last month either. There'll be no amendments to review. Our current population is 158 with 121 males, 37 females. We currently have 13 in work release, at 10 males, 3 females. And one of the notations that I have here is that 8 of our 9 participants passed their high set or high school equivalency test on 10-6, so that's pretty significant there. And that will conclude our report.
Questions? I got one. You guys
I
will
might
wait.
have an answer.
I hope so. I like, you got a warning, so I hope. We're sitting, you've got 250 capacity out there, and we've got roughly, we've been in the neighborhood of 175, who's been about the
Yes, sir.
highest in the last, is the other room that's out there, can it be used for anything when you?
We do have some room on the work release area, the sanctions side down there. And then we have talked about putting we've started looking at some different programs. I just went to CCA last week and looked at a program that they have. Years ago, I ran a therapeutic community at the sheriff's office where we segregated a group of inmates away from normal population. And we're looking at doing that again. It was very successful. As a matter of fact, there were 4 grants that went out in the state of Tennessee, and ours in Rutherford County was more successful than state of Tennessee's, Chattanooga's, and Shelby County. So we're looking at doing that again. When the building was built, it was built for the future. So slowly that is going to fill up. We are looking at also some other options for work release. So just kind of holding on to that area until something new comes along. I hate to use it if we don't absolutely have to.
But maybe it can be used for something temporary for a
Right,
while
and that's
or
why we're
something.
looking at the therapeutic community.
Okay. Any questions for Captain Cope? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Motion to approve the report as presented.
Got a motion and a second. Further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. King.
Good evening.
Evening.
So first, on the recovery court report, these are statistics, we'll go through those. In drug court, we are remaining steady at 35 participants right now for the month of September. I believe currently in October, around here, we'll have close to 40 by the end of this month. So we are increasing our caseload. From there, still our biggest problem is 41% of all of our participants in our drug court program are addicted to prescription medication. The next drug of choice after that is marijuana. From there, it goes down to cocaine. Heroin is still right around 3% to 4% of our participants are active heroin users. Other than that, it's been a pretty quiet month, as you can see from the rest of the counseling sessions. Program fees, everything else was remaining about equal. We had no terminations for the month of September, which was a good thing. DUI, we are up to 42 participants at the end of September. We are trying to max out at 50. That'll be a full program for us. In DUI, they're doing very well. It's a different population. We had 6 graduate in September, which was very nice to see. We did have 1 termination. And our Veterans Court, it is moving up as well. We are increasing. We're up to 15 at the end of September. By the end of this month, we should be right at 19, 20. We're trying to move to at least 25, hopefully by November, December timeframe within a year. So that is, the court has gained quite a bit. 76% of all of our veterans in that program are alcohol dependent. From there, it kind of varies between marijuana, crack, cocaine, and then prescription medication. But the biggest thing is our alcohol and mental health of their veterans. And that's what we're trying to focus on. Other than that, I'd like to ask a question.
Are all 3 of those courts autonomous with the another? Any of the people that interact at all?
They do. Well, in order to save money and not to come back and ask for more positions, what we try to do is we have separate therapists in our DUI and our drug court. They both have different backgrounds. They both can do the same thing, but one focuses more on the drug addicted side of the brain. The other focuses more on what alcohol does to the brain. So I hate to say this, but our DUI court is a little bit more higher functioning individuals compared to our drug court, as far as the ability to move past it and to find better jobs, those type of things. So it's a little bit different of a program. Most of our DUI participants can go through our court and our program in about 12 months. Our drug court, it's a little bit longer, maybe up to 16 to 18 months. It takes them just a little bit longer to get to their program. But our veterans, what we do is, depending on their drug of choice, if they're alcohol related, they go through our DUI track. So they still have a veteran specific group that they go through, but they also go through our DUI or our drug court classes, and the same thing as anybody else. So there are some mingling, but we try to keep the veterans contained with each other as much as possible.
But in all of these, alcohol seems to be
It
is the one that keeps giving us the problem.
It is.
You know, when you think about this, I know back in my era of the Vietnam War, we had people out here marching the streets and protesting against the Vietnam War, and I think we had, 52,000 killed in the Vietnam War?
56.
56,000 killed in the Vietnam War. That same period of time, I think there was 250,000 killed in alcohol-related accidents. Nobody was walking the streets protesting against any of that. And here we are, have vets coming back today. They're still facing alcohol-related problems, and still nobody is out there doing it. And I'm so glad that we've got something that's somewhere on the track.
And what we try to do, and most of when they get to our point, they're not the first time offenders. These are second, third, and fourth time offenders that we're seeing. And that's what makes the difference. We would love if we had the money, we had the resources to go after the first time offender. If you can stop it before it gets to a more severe problem, it's just resources.
Well, that happened when you were still in the service too.
Correct.
Started. So.
And it's easier when they're on break or on leave, they can go drink or go back to the PX or whatever else, so it's a lot easier.
Readily available. It's usually less expensive than it is on the outside.
A lot of them will suffer, and they're quiet. They suffer in silence. I mean, that's kind of what they were instilled, and that's what's trained to you. The buddy next to you is going through the same thing you are, so keep your mouth shut. March on.
Okay. Do we want to look at the recovery courts report before we go to the money aspect, the collections?
Yes.
Okay.
So the other part of the report is we are still in the process of filling out our case manager for the mental health court. The applications went out. We received 31 qualified applicants for that position. We'll be interviewing 5 or 6 of those applicants this week. And hopefully we'll have a selection made by the end of the week, if not beginning of next week. Looking to have a position filled sometime mid-November, with the anticipation of having an end of November, beginning of December start date for the mental health court. We will have a drug court graduation next door on November the 10th at 6 p.m. I do invite anyone out if y'all would like to come to see that. We'll have at least 6 participants graduating in that from drug court. And all 6 of these participants graduate. They're well deserved. They've worked hard. One of them has been in the program a little over 2 years. So,
I'd just like to encourage it. Most of you have already been, but if you just go with one, I mean, it is just really so rewarding to see the benefits of what we're doing with these folks that are completing this program.
yes.
So, what is it, Friday?
It's a Thursday.
Thursday.
I know budget committee's at 5:30, so we'll try to be quiet and marshal everyone in on the other
Yeah.
stairwell
Okay.
to respect that.
What time is it?
6 o'clock.
6.
Yes, sir. And the last thing is just to request approval from the committee. There's a grant available from SAMHSA, which is the federal counterpart to the state agency I report to. And they have a 3-year grant available, which will be a little less than $1 million. It's $325,000 per year for up to 3 years. No matching funds, and it is to enhance and/or expand recovery court operations, which would include veterans court, mental health court, or a combination thereof. And I think what we're doing here by expanding with veterans and with mental health, this may be a good way for the department to try to seek some funding to help offset some of our costs that we have.
Is there a time frame that you gotta use that in?
The application is due by December, and then I think sometime in February, so we won't have an award until next October, I would imagine. But from the award, you would have 3 years from the award.
So you can spread it out?
Yes, sir. So it'll be close to $1 million over that 3-year period.
Okay. Further questions for Mr. King? No, I guess we ought to take a motion on our reports for the different courts and then come back with a request to put in for the grant after that. Is that the best way? That's fine. That means we could probably lump it all together if we wanted to. No, okay. And it was better than fine, wouldn't it? All right. So we'll take a motion on the reports of the different courts.
Make a motion to approve the reports as presented for the courts.
Second that.
A motion, second. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Are you guaranteed to get some money from this grant from SAMHSA?
I wish we were guaranteed, but.
No, okay.
That would be great.
Okay, so
I think
then
there's,
if you receive it, then it'll come back for the
it'll go back to
signatures?
the, yes, sir.
Okay.
And I believe they're going to award at least 52 or 54 proposals. I don't know, Jeff, you remember? But I believe there's a large number, so we have a great shot.
Okay.
Now, we are competing against everyone else in the country.
Nothing wrong with it.
We'll try and see.
Have them take a motion then on the, to apply for the grant. With no matching funds. Guys, this is a no-brainer. Okay.
Well, I'll make a motion to apply for the grant with no matching funds.
Second?
Second. Further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passes. Yeah.
Okay, on the probation side, on the recovery services side, you have 2 documents. One is the month of September. This is our revenue and expenditures for that. As you see, for the month of September 2016, the second column, our total expenditures for the month were $108,072.51. And our year-to-date for 2017, just as a reference point, year-to-date expenditures are $291,076.22. For the month of September, our combined total for our class fees, drug screens, electronic monitoring fees, and our supervision fees, total was $72,617.58. which is a difference of $35,454.93. If you take into consideration adding on top of all of those fees, class fees, drug screens, everything else, and then adding in our court costs, fines, and other things that are associated with that, that total was $230,992.72, with a difference of $122,920.21. Also in the month of September, 176 cases were placed onto a payment plan with the clerk's office down at probation, or at the clerk's office across the street, the clerk, for a total of probation fees owed to the department of $16,059.09. Total owed for court cost fines and fees of $205,139.10, for a grand total of $221,198.19 on the payment plans. And I believe the last meeting you had asked me to also bring part of the payment plans. I don't have the stuff from the clerk's office for what's done upstairs in room 201, but I do have what we're doing down at probation when they come down to put on the payment plan. I do have those numbers. So, for example, in the month of August, we had $1,255 come in on payment plans. In the month of September, it looks like we had $4,262.90 come in on payment plans. And so far for the month of October, we have collected $3,697.40 on payment plans. So it's still in its infancy stage as far as it being collected down at probation.
What happens if they don't meet the payment plan?
After
What's your procedures then?
It is my understanding this with the clerk's office. After a period of time, I don't know if it's 90 days or 6 months, then the clerk has the right to suspend driver's license. If they do have that, so the clerk can take that, suspend it, and/or the clerk can begin to initiate, I believe it's after a year, proceedings to bring forth a civil judgment to either collect through one of the property or other tangible assets that the individual may have through a judgment.
What if they don't have anything? No driver's license, no nothing? Living with mama?
Then we don't really have a whole lot. We can do garnish wages if they ever get a job. We can do that. But it does preclude them from being able to obtain a driver's license in the future until all of these fines and fees are paid for. And it's hard.
And a year ago, these same people would have wound up going to jail for the fees. Is that the way it was working?
No, Mr. Schaefer, that is not a correct statement, and we don't need to discuss that
Okay.
publicly, please.
All right. I just want to, we're doing it a better way now. That's what it seems like to me. That's what it's trying to get out.
We have taken a different approach to focus on the recidivism and trying to stop that and to help garner better jobs and to really attack a problem more so than focus on the collection of money.
Okay.
So we're just taking a different approach.
Any questions on the September report? If not, we'll take a motion on this report.
I move we approve the report.
A motion?
Second.
Second. Further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Now, this was the 6 months.
The 6-month review, this is from April to September. The total expenditures for that 6-month time period would be $618,602.72. Total collection as far as program fees, drug screen fees, scram fees, supervision fees for that same period of time was $416,974.95 for a difference of $201,627.77. Now, when we add in the court cost fines, fees, and everything else along with those items that we collected, their grand total was $1,480,508.84. You subtract the $618,602.72 total expenditures, it gives you a surplus amount of $861,906.12. And then the total cases placed on to the program for the payment plan, the fees for that 6-month period was $31,967.19 in fees owed for supervision fees. For core costs and fines, $663,938.07 for a combined total of $695,905.26 placed onto a payment plan.
Questions? How about an opinion?
Yes, sir.
Okay, the mayor can chime in here. Well, to me, it looks like we did the right thing 6 months ago.
Yes, sir.
We went to setting this up as a county office. It looks like we're coming out ahead. I think from what you have said, that the people that are on probation, et cetera, is working out better for them to stay out of jail in the future. And, the recidivism rate, is that a fair assessment?
Yes, sir, I would say that. I think the way that we look at that is based on recidivism and that rate at the end. We won't know that if we're still in infancy.
Yeah.
But hopefully next year at this time period, we can look back and see in 1 year to see if we actually made a difference. Without, in the prior years, we don't really have a way, or we haven't had a way to track a true recidivism rate. But the numbers I received from the jail, probably 6 months ago, for 2015, I believe, Jeff, correct me if I'm wrong, I think we had a 53% recidivism rate. And that just means for those that were arrested more than once in the same time period this year, in that year. So I believe anything that we do to try to better enhance that in any way will reduce that number. We pulled the numbers, just out of curiosity. We have 3,400 people right now on probation. If all of them went to jail today and probation closed, or there was no probation, just 1 day in jail would cost $214,000 at $63 a day to house them. That's just 1 day. And that's not saying that we're going to have enough. We don't even have them either. Right. So I mean, if there was no probation department, we have 3,000 some odd plus people that you're going to have to house for at least 6 months minimum.
I really,
if not
really
longer.
think you're gonna be out in like 3 years before we get a real
Maybe.
good look at everything, because as we all know, the court system moves very slowly. And so to get a true look at how many people come back into the system, I think we could revisit this 3 years from the date we implemented this program and really begin to see what we're doing. We're just going to be patient. But we know that that we are going in the right direction, and that we're trying to give people the tools to make their lives better. And that's the important thing. If you don't give people the opportunity, then people are going to repeat the same steps over. That's the key.
But you got to start somewhere.
Correct. That's what we're trying to do.
Further questions?
Thank you.
Yes, sir.
No, we'll take a motion on the report.
Move to approve.
Have a motion?
Are you doing the 6-month report?
Yes. We have a motion and a second. Further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. And you will put this one in everybody.
I have 21 copies of both. I'll do
Okay.
that.
All
And I
right.
know we're still trying to make improvements as we go along. There's always something we can change and improve, so, I mean, we're not stopping just yet.
Okay. Thank you very much, Betsy.
Sir, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Mr. Good, OSHA report.
Good evening.
Hello.
From your report, you'll see that in the month of September, we had a total of 14 injuries requiring medical attention, work-related, bringing the total to 144 for the year, January 1st to the present. OSHA recordables were 80. Of those 80, 36 were restricted days, 23 lost time days, and 21 all others. compared to the 2 previous years, this year at 144, last year we had 146 this time, and in 2014 we had 172. The dollars incurred for the injuries were the year to date is $364,000 compared to last year of $374,000 and 2 years ago, 217. Of the 14 injuries this month, or excuse me, last month, $29,098 were incurred in those. Of the 14, 7 of them were with the Board of Education. Board of Education incurred $4,950. County General had the other 7. Total incurred dollars there were $24,148. And then the last page of your report breaks down the County General 7 to the different departments that you'll see there.
In your opinion, is there anything that can be done to slow this accident rate down? Yeah, are they repeated accidents, like the same thing more than once?
Accidents are being repeated. Usually there are things that are somewhat beyond our control, such as in the judicial system or law enforcement. You'll see the same thing. You also see the same thing in the school system with slip, trips, and falls. That comes from the highly polished floors, people with kids getting food on the floor, things like that, and also with students, young students, sometimes violence, striking out and hitting individuals and things like that. Those are the kind of things that you see reoccurring. The biggest thing about that is always awareness. Keep people aware of it. When you're in a situation, something going like that on, even though you may get struck, is how to prevent yourself from getting hurt, a deeper injury or more serious injury.
Further questions? If not, we'll entertain a motion on the report.
I'll make a motion to approve this report as presented.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion carries.
Just like to remind all county employees, we're in the middle of open enrollment, and it closes at noon next Monday, and the system automatically locks up. If they're in it, they may be able to complete it, but if they're not in it, they won't be able to. If you're looking for any technical support as far as getting passwords and access to it, we only have technical support during working hours, so we encourage individuals to at least go in, make sure they can access their account while technical support is available, because it won't be available over the weekend or in the evening hours. So just like to encourage everybody to do that, so again, at least they can get in, they know they have access to it. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Mr. Gregory. Pause.
The month of September, we had 629 animals entered into the shelter. You can see the breakdown there of the jurisdictions that they came from. We had 59.6% of our animals adopted or reclaimed, and 35.7% were euthanized. I think it's significant to note, if you look at our dogs, we're still hovering at around that 80% mark. So it's our cats that are really hurting us when it comes to our adoption and euthanasia rates. We had 1,967 people that visited the shelter looking for a lost or new pet, and 1,989 calls or voicemails for the month. We had 1,477 calls that were received and 1,503 calls that the officers completed, and they traveled 9,675 miles. Year to date, we've had 1,895 animals enter the shelter, an adoption reclaim rate of 61.7%, euthanasia rate of 31.1%. A little over 7,000 people visited the shelter, 6,452 logged calls and voicemails. We've received 4,995 calls and completed 5,027 while traveling 31,410 miles. For our rabies exposure and bite report for the month, we had 34 bites that were reported. 2 of those were tested, did not come back as positive. We had 17 other exposures. 2 of those were tested as well with no positives also.
On your total calls received, you had 1,477 calls received.
Yes, sir.
Do you have any idea how many of those would have been related to people not obeying the dog leash law?
I can go back and break down that 1477 by call type. And I'd be happy to bring that for, monthly if you'd like for me to.
Do y'all impose any type of fine or anything on the leash
We're-
law violation?
We're only able to issue warnings as well as citations. If they won't come and sign the citation, we can issue a warrant. We do run into a little bit of issues with, once we do that, them going anywhere across the street here per se, which has been some of the discussion we've had over the last couple of years as far as looking into an environmental type court so they would handle just those type cases. But we do have the options of doing those things. I can break down further by call type if you all would like to see that. Be happy to bring that report or send that out to you, whichever you'd like.
Just bring it next time. It would be interesting to see
Yes, sir.
what you're actually working with.
Are there questions for Mr. Gregory?
When say a dog is picked up or is brought to the shelter as possibly somebody says they just lost or whatever, do y'all check for a chip?
Yes, sir, we
that's
do.
brought in?
Yes, sir. All of our trucks have scanners on them, and then we microchip anything that we can get our hands on in the shelter.
Which really helps in locating.
Well, we had that discussion this afternoon, actually. Sometimes it kind of hinders a little bit because when an animal comes in with a microchip, they're put on automatic 5-day hold versus a 3-day hold because that's a form of ownership. But we run into probably 9 times out of 10 is the folks put the microchip in, but they never update the
They don't
information.
renew.
So a lot of times what we'll see is the owner that put the microchip in gave the dog away to multiple folks, and then we have to start dealing with them and try to chase that rabbit trail. So it's great as long as that information's updated. If not, it really costs us a lot of time and money.
Well, that's what I wondered because when you put that in there and then you get a notification that it's time to renew it, I just wondered how many people actually renew those.
That's why when the ones that we do at the shelter cost a little bit more than what we could get them, but they do come with a lifetime registration. So that way they're not looking at an annual cost once that first year is gone.
If there's no further questions, we'll entertain a motion.
I move we approve the report.
Second it.
Motion is second. Further questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, motion carries.
Just on a side note, don't need any action on this at this point. PetSmart sent out, I guess it's been 2 weeks ago, they opened up their grant applications. It was basically a kind of a first come, first serve. They were going to start approving applications as soon as they were received until their funds were expended. I spoke with the mayor at that time, and we did apply for a grant for $57,000. Don't have any word on if we'll receive it or not, but he gave his blessing for me to go ahead and at least apply, so I want to make you all aware of that. We did apply. Basically what we were doing is looking to bring the space station to Rutherford County once a week to assist us with the free spay-neuter surgeries that you all currently had funded. Right now, there's approximately a 12-week waiting period from the time you turn in the application until the time that we perform the surgery. So this would help to catch that up and really ramp that into high gear. So hopefully I'll be able to come back and we've received it, but at least you all have been made aware of it. All right.
Do want to congratulate Paws on their ribbon cutting they had last week for the new exercise yard. It was really nice and well done, and plus the exercise yard is pretty neat too. Almost done down there.
Did you go check it out?
I did go check it out.
We thank the Hooper family and the
So
Sandy
where you
Hooper for that.
exercise?
Hmm?
He said, where you exercise?
There's plenty of room to exercise, unless you got a fence to keep me in.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening. EMS.
Ready?
All right.
We made 2,925 calls last month. Our average response time was 8.1 minutes. We had 36 DOAs, and 13 of those were sent for autopsies. The good news in our collections is that we're projecting to collect a little over $7.8 million this year. That's a fairly good increase over what we were expected to collect, and I kind of feel like that's going to hold up. The table at the bottom of the page is ambulances and costs associated, fuel costs and maintenance costs. We drove a total of 53,012 miles. So essentially we're wearing an ambulance out about every 3 months. Of the 2,925 calls, 982 of those were out of zone, which continues to be about a third of our calls are out of zone. And I feel like that has something to do with our response time as well. Next page is our in-services and training, as well as the activities for several of our teams. Not anything unusual there. That typically is stay pretty busy during the month. The next page is call volume broken down by ambulance stations. We have another one that is a little bit more complete than this one, but that kind of gives you an idea of what the response time is for each station. Following page is volume of calls broken down by commissioner districts. It also has a national call table there. And our transport team calls are broken down as well. Our transport team handled 78 critical transfers, and they also picked up 106 911 calls. So they made 184 total calls. Following page is the same information except it's year to date. Next page is the matrix. Shows which ambulances made which calls and which districts they were in. When I showed this to the mayor, he pointed out that it seemed to be pretty evenly divided among all of the ambulances as far as how many times they were out of their zone. Given that some thought, I think the reason for that is because our dispatchers are pretty good about trying to get the right ambulances in the right place, and that, several times a week, it's just, I don't know any other way to say it, than it's just ambulance service turnover, because we're pushed so hard that we're just desperately trying to get an ambulance wherever we can get it.
Question about Burton Street progress.
The deputy mayor is holding a building committee Wednesday morning, is that correct?
Right.
They came over there and they drilled holes in the ground and they put pipes down in those holes, and then they filled the holes full of concrete. And they've done some site work, but that's, and they did have some, looked to me like rebar delivered over there. last Friday. That's for the hour,
Not very far.
not very far.
Do we have any kind of timeline or any kind of contractual thing, or
I don't
is
think
the
we have.
PBA handling this, or?
I don't think we have a contract that deals with time, but it was understood going into there that we really wanted to have that completed by January the 1st. Of course, that's not going to happen. But, I think what we can do, and it would be my suggestion to you, that if we get to January 1st and that building is not inhabitable, which I doubt it is, that we go ahead and bring that team on and station them in the President Burton Street station. We have room for them there. It won't be the best of quarters, but at least it'll work until we can get them moved.
I firmly believe we need to get another ambulance on the road. And just
I agree with you. I think that's the quickest way to do it. I don't think we wait on the ambulance. We don't wait for the building, because we can do it without the building.
proper people will look at why the delay and report back to us.
After the meeting, I'll send you a summary, just everybody's summary.
The calls have been going up every year. You can compare to the years before that we're getting several hundred more calls in a month's time now than we were.
I think we're about 500 calls above last year right now.
And I'll reiterate that I would like to see in the coming year's budget proposal for 2 more ambulance stations, one in the north and one in the central or south end of the county, because we're getting behind.
We are.
We're getting behind. We have had, you've been there from the beginning, and you know we've had, I credit you with having one of the best, during 20-some odd years I was all over the state of Tennessee, and in years gone by, people have looked to Rutherford County as EMS as being an example of how things ought to go. So we just don't need to, as we're getting to be a bigger county, we don't need to let that slip, especially not with all of us guys here getting older and doesn't need it.
Oh, you see him look down this way.
I was gonna say, right
He look down this way.
He's got one young and I'm the other.
Yeah.
Got like having a birthday today.
That's right. Just remember, I'm having a birthday. I'm not on this list down here where you reported it. You read it earlier.
You're not ready for the autopsy, right? Okay.
I'd like to see us stay abreast of the situation.
Before you go to the calls, the letters, Salem, exactly what is a Nashville call? And why does Salem why do they have 102 of them as opposed to others?
That is a little bit of a confusing issue. I probably should have tried to explain that to you before. Oftentimes, any ambulance can pick up a patient that needs to go to Nashville or wants to go to Nashville. We've got a little bit of a situation here at the emergency room right now where there's certain things that they just can't handle because of their call volume and other things. And so frequently, if we know what the situation is and know that they're going to be sent to Nashville anyway, let's go ahead and take them. But the other situation exists that many people who live in Rutherford County, their physicians and so forth are in Nashville, and they've been referred to specialists in Nashville, and that's where they request to go. So we'll take them wherever they need to go.
Okay.
So it's not just our transport. The transport team takes critical patients, generally transfers from the hospitals. That's usually when they're put into play as far as transfers are concerned. But they also do answer, when we're out of ambulances, they'll answer emergency calls too, and they do. But any ambulance is capable of making a transfer to Nashville.
Okay. But why so many out of Salem?
Well, there's several ambulances stationed at Salem, so that's why. And that's where the transport team's located too, as well. The rest of them are just some thank you letters.
You know, it's just kind of sticking in my mind how we took a contract to build a new ambulance station without any timeline of completion.
Definitely want to address that.
Sorry, what was the question?
How we were able to take a contract to build a new ambulance station without a timeline for completion.
Well, we don't have a firm timeline, we have a projected timeline, and there's been some delays. One delay I know about was an electrical issue where before the city initially said there wasn't any electrical lines where they were gonna be digging the foundation. And so we were planning to go ahead and break ground and get started. And then they came back just like a week before we were about to break ground. So wait a minute, we found some electrical lines there, we're gonna have to move them. And so it was up to the city to move those lines. And so we had to wait for them to get a team out and move whatever that electrical line was. So a couple things have been out of our control, but the contractor, Quality Company, has told us that once they get started, that, you know, this is their priority, and they'll knock it out as best they can. Hopefully the weather will stay with us, but I'll provide you a really good summary from my meeting on Monday morning, and I'll give you a projected completion date. And then anytime we have a meeting, I'll provide a summary either here or electronically or both.
You don't want us to call you heavy trimming, do you? You definitely passed the buck right there.
I was talking to Chief Lowry. What? I didn't feel that bus running over me.
Any further questions for Mr. Nowman?
Make a motion to approve the report as presented.
Second. A motion and a second. Further questions? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Thank you much, sir. Okay. Sheriff.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, fellow commissioners. I've asked that I go first, that I'll let Ms. Rosie and Keith step up and give you the report. I just have a few comments to make to this commission, or this committee. I'm here to assure you and the great citizens of this county that the sheriff's office is stable. We're still providing a professional level of law enforcement services to our citizens. That has not changed and will not change. We all took an oath to defend the Constitution of the United States and the state of Tennessee and to provide service to our citizens, and we're going to uphold that oath. We are currently progressing with our educational building and our CAD system. Chief Lowry is here to talk more, to give you an update on that. Those projects are moving forward as we speak. We're in the process of hiring employees. As some of you know, it's an arduous task. We can't just bring somebody in off the street and pin a badge on them and put them in a car. There's a lot of work that has to go in to do that. We have to interview them. We have to do background checks. We've got to provide medical information, drug testing information. We have to do all of that, and all of that is conditional for employment, and it takes a while to do that. We've had several different transfers inside the sheriff's office. Some detention officers that went to patrol. We're going to have to backfill those positions, but we have 8 new hires that have already been scheduled to start early November, and then early November they will be doing more interviews to completely fill those positions. But I want to reassure each of you that we want to cooperate with this committee, with the mayor's office, and with the full commission. The mayor's office has already assisted us with 2 or 3 little projects that we've compromised on. He's helped us. He's been gracious. We need your help. Without y'all's help, we cannot function. So with that said, if there's any question that I can answer for you tonight, I'll be happy to do that.
I have a question.
Yes, sir.
document here, it's the SS 805 that you signed in January 21st of 2015. As you just reiterated, you took an oath to uphold the laws of the state of Tennessee and the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the state of Tennessee.
Yes.
On that document, it shows that the sheriff both had an investment and was receiving funds from jail seats.
Yes.
You had to know that jail seats were being sold in the jail.
No, sir, I did not know the jail seats were being sold in the jail, but Commissioner, let me do this. I'm not going to get off into the weeds of the sheriff's issues. I'm just here tonight to reassure you and the rest of the public that we're here to provide a high-level professional law enforcement services to this county. Whatever the sheriff's issues are, they will play out.
What I'm saying is, you had knowledge of this. I mean, you signed it as a witness.
I did.
I mean,
But all of those issues will be handled at a later date.
now that doesn't reassure me. It doesn't reassure the public, I don't think.
Well, I'm here to tell you that we're here to do our best, and we can respectfully disagree.
Can you, on patrol, can you say how many of the positions that have been filled? Is the 7 that were to come on, are they filled, and they're somewhere in training?
They're in training, some of them are. Most of them will have to go through the 16-week training program inside the sheriff's office. There are some that are already certified, so they would just have to go through the 16-week training program. Others will have to go through the 16-week training program and go to the Tennessee Law Enforcement Training Academy. We have attempted to hire certified officers if they qualify, if they meet our standards. I can't recall how many. I know that there's 2 or 3, maybe 4 of those positions that are already certified. We'll just have to send them through our 16 weeks of our field training program, and they'll be ready to go.
And in detention, you said that you got about half them hired,
Yes, sir.
but you lost some to,
We did, and so we're gonna have to backfill those positions.
so you're gonna, and you're getting ready to interview again?
Yes, sir.
But, you're at least at the staffing now that you were before the others went to patrol?
Basically, we are, maybe a little bit ahead.
Okay.
And we will continue to backfill those positions and get them in just as quickly as possible.
Okay, and I got one more, and I just want like an overview of this of SROs, because
sir.
you've had some family illnesses, deaths, et cetera, like that, and I'm sure you've had some transfer out of the SRO program to go to one of the others or something like that.
We have.
And I know that you're covering with people in the schools to keep an SRO available there pretty much the whole day.
Yes.
And one thing, I guess, the big thing I want to is to make sure that the rural schools have got good coverage. And the reason for that is there are city police
Yes,
if
sir.
it happens to the county ones.
And we're making every effort to do that. I think, I was told today that all of our SRO positions have been filled. Now, there's some training.
Yeah, and
They
it's
have to
a
go
while,
to
isn't it?
NASRO. We've got one that has to go to a 3-week transition school in Toledo, and then we'll have to finish our 16-week training program. But since he was certified in another state, he would just have to go through the transition school, is my understanding. So that helps us out a little bit. But the rural schools are being covered.
I think that's what a lot of the interest is now, is that we've got these positions that finally came through.
Yes.
That they are getting, and I know it's hard because you just look around and you're losing police and all over the country.
We are.
In that, so that's why I just want to hear
Absolutely.
from you where we are, so the people know that we're working on it, and you may hire 5 or 6, and you may have 2 or 3 that go somewhere else, or could go completely out of law enforcement in this day
We
and
do.
age.
We do have that, and some go back to patrol because, I think it's no secret that even if going back to patrol, they get a pay raise. So, that's a topic for another day, but We do lose them, and we lose them out of patrol too. Some people just get out of law enforcement period. So,
More questions for Chief?
Yeah, I got a few here.
yes,
One, I want to say thank you for stepping up and doing a hard job. When this county commission voted to ask Sheriff Arnold to resign, at that point, he stopped providing security for our meetings. And I don't want this to sound petty or anything, but is there any idea or that you will start providing?
the full commission meeting, sir?
Right, full
Yes, we
commission
will.
meeting.
Yes.
Okay. That's number one. And number two is the use of cell phones with the patrolmen. I'm seeing not only with our patrolmen, but with the city patrolmen too, where they are communicating more and more by cell phone instead of by radio, car radio.
Yes.
Is that a standard practice, or can you fill me in why they do that?
We would prefer not to do that, but because our communications infrastructure, well, there's two reasons. Our communications infrastructure is not what it should be, so typically they'll have to use cell phones to communicate with headquarters. There'll be a lot of times that dispatch will ask the deputy to call in to get additional information on a call.
Okay.
So that happens frequently.
Right.
Sometimes, to be honest with you, they're just talking to somebody they probably shouldn't be talking to driving down the road, so it happens.
It happens.
Yes.
Yeah, I know. It's like when you see somebody going down the road talking on the phone, it's like it's hard to say, you shouldn't be doing that. You're being distracted when you got deputies doing it.
Yes.
And you know, and thanks for that answer. And number three is kind of like that. It's like, let's see, I wrote down, let's see, but talking about the lack of reporting when deputies respond to calls by cell phone. And you probably know what I'm referring to, but I mean, are deputies that respond to calls now, are they gonna be reporting every call? I mean, how to say this, if a deputy responds to a call, is there gonna be a written report of that call?
Not every time. It depends on the situation. Most of the time, the vast majority of the time, there will be a report written. There will be a few times that a call comes out that no report will be issued because, number one, there was no crime,
Right.
or there are other incidents, such as I noticed today that our deputies responded with the fire department to, I believe, 3 different brush fires in the county. I think 2 of them were unfounded, or 1 was unfounded, and 1 may have been founded. There's no reports on those type of incidents. The fire department makes a report on them. A lot of times ambulance assist calls. There's no report made on that. They're just there to assist the ambulance service. There are probably other calls that there would be no report on. Now, if there's a victim or a crime, every time there's going to be a report filed, yes, sir.
Okay. Well, I mean, I'm just wondering, you know, if that's a way to keep up with time used, and I know you're trying to get a new computer system
Yes.
to track everything.
Yes.
And what I'm trying to probably say is that if an incident report is made, even if it's a brush fire, it logs the deputy's time. It lets this county commission know that we'll probably need to put more deputies out there. If not, we have no way of knowing.
Yes.
I mean, other than your word that you need deputies.
Well, we don't want to give you our word. We want to be able to show you, and currently we're tracking some of that, but because of this antiquated SOM system, it is difficult to extract that information out to give the commissioners a good a valid number, if you will,
True.
and time spent on that call.
Right.
Right now, we just keep putting Band-Aids on this SOM system, and eventually, at some point, it is just going to completely fail, and we don't have anything to back it up with. But we're trying our best to prolong it, because as we implement the CAD system, it is very difficult to implement an RMS system at the same time. It's
Right.
virtually impossible. So we want to implement the CAD system to show the commissioners that it's up, it's running, it works, and then we'll go and come back to this committee and to the commission and ask for the records management system, the second component to TriTech.
Right. I was just thinking if we get the deputies used to doing it now, then when the new system comes online, it would.
The
it would
CAD
be-
system does it now. The
Yes.
CAD system will
Right.
track those calls.
It does now.
Not by incident report, but by
Yeah.
call, by obligated versus unobligated time.
Right.
We can get a variant on that.
Okay. Well, that's what
But
I
I
want
can't
to
tell
see.
you it'd be accurate.
True.
Right.
Very true.
That's just something that would help our commission.
Yes.
Give
when-
you better service.
And when the new CAD system is deployed and more information is put in it, we're not gonna put old data in it because it'll
Right.
corrupt the system.
Definitely.
So, but we're gonna start off and then we'll be able to provide the commissioners an accurate report of exactly what we're doing and how much time we're spending on a call and how much time that it takes to get there, to spend on the call,
Right.
and to check back in service again.
Sounds good.
We'll be able to do that.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Chief, when the sheriff makes a comment that he's still in charge and that he's still talking to people at the sheriff's department office, who is he talking to?
He talks to me.
He talks directly to
Yes,
you.
sir.
Does he talk to anybody else there, or is it just, how often do you talk to him?
I talk to him pretty much daily.
Okay.
But he's not running operations.
Right, and that's kind of what I was getting at, was I find that hard to believe that
Yes.
would be a functioning
It-
sheriff's department for a long term, if that was the way it was set up.
Yes, sir.
And
That's not the way it's set up.
okay, that was question number one. Number two, back to your point earlier in Commissioner Schaefer and others' points, what can we do to help you? Because this is uncharted water for everybody,
It
from
is.
a support standpoint, from a morale standpoint, from a budgeting perspective, to make sure we can continue moving past all of this in the right direction to provide the kind of support that that you need, number one, personally and professionally, but number two, and probably more importantly, even in your eyes and Key's eyes and everybody that's involved, your deputies and those that are on the front lines, what can we continue to do to provide the kind of support that they need to maintain a positive attitude and keep morale up and keep moving forward in the county?
Well, I believe the morale is fairly good at the sheriff's office. I think we've got a great staff of people that come in every day and give 110%. And it's no different than those deputies on the 18th of this month go after a guy that's got several warrants on him. He turns around and shoots at them. Fortunately, their training kicked in. Fortunately, they didn't overreact. And so they didn't fire any rounds, and the incident was handled without anybody getting hurt. Now, gentlemen, they done a fantastic job.
Sure.
And so I think our people are coming in every day, and I don't want to just keep expanding on this, but they do an outstanding job. You know, in the jail, they are our unseen heroes because nobody sees them. But they're handling 800 inmates daily, 24 hours a day. They do a fantastic job. Our deputies in the field are doing a fantastic job. And I think the only thing that I can ask of this body at this time is just to support our people. I don't know that we've got anything to come back to you except our reports. I don't foresee anything in the near future coming back and asking for additional dollars. I don't see that unless we have an emergency. We did have a pipe break in our CID building, which flooded the entire building. But our maintenance staff is handling that. It was unfortunate because we had some computers that were on the floor and they probably got ruined, and a lot of carpet and sheetrock has got to be tore out. But it's just one of those things that happens every once in a while. We can't avoid every incident. It just doesn't work. But our maintenance staff is handling that. I don't foresee we having to come back and ask any additional dollars for that. Our goal is to operate within our budget unless we have an emergency.
Sure.
We just can't.
Right.
We can't find the dollars somewhere else to compensate for that.
Okay.
But the only thing I could ask of this committee is to support our people and support the operation of the sheriff's office, whether it be verbally or whether you meet a deputy in the field, thank him for what he's doing, him or her, and thank them for what they're doing because it's a very dangerous job out there today. And they need all of our community support. They need this committee's support and the entire commission. So currently, I think that's how you can help us.
Right. Well, that's good, and I'm encouraged to hear that. I don't think the sheriff should be running the department from a jail
He is
cell,
not.
quite frankly, and I appreciate you publicly stating that. But to your second point, and more importantly, absolutely make sure that they understand, regardless of how we might have conversations related to where we think budget dollars need to be spent, that this committee supports the police department, this commission supports this police department, and this county supports the police department unequivocally. We all have warts in certain areas that sure we want to look at things that we could do better, but make no mistake that we want to support you in your role. We want to support your men and women that are out there on the front lines protecting us. So please relay that message back to your teams.
We will do that, and thank you very much. As I said earlier, we need your help. Got to have your help. Without it, we can't operate. We've got a great staff of people. I can't commend them enough. And I'll be happy to answer any more questions that anyone may have.
Chief,
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to say, when Chairman Schaefer and I met with you
Yes, sir.
right after you took over down there, really appreciate the time you gave us, the way you answered our questions, and most definitely helped me feel a lot better of what's getting ready to happen down there and the way you were handling it. Especially the way you told us that you were just going to work with it and keep it away. And when you told me that you wasn't looking to spend any more money, that really tickled me. But
well, I may have to take my word back.
I totally understand that, but I think we got a good understanding down there, and we appreciate the way you said that and whatever. Even I know I brought up a subject down there that I was having a problem with, and I got response back from your department down there to work on those problems that we were having out there. And getting quick responses is very important in this county, and I appreciate what you're doing there with the work that's being done there with the men and women that are down there. And I think that's very important to our citizens out there. I get phone calls quite often about it, that they appreciate what they are doing down there, and telling me to be sure to support them. And that's what this committee is all about too. It's that we're here to look after our people here and look after our employees down there too.
Well, thank you, Commissioner. That's very kind of you to say that, and I would extend an offer to any commissioner who wants to come down and talk about the operation of the Sheriff's Office. Come in and look at our facility, see what we're doing with our facility, how clean it is. We have to provide a safe environment for our inmates. We do have to do that, and we're doing that. Nothing's at 100%, but I think we're always striving for 99.9%. Sometimes we don't reach that, but I would encourage you. I'd be happy to talk with any of you, and I appreciate y'all coming down. It meant a lot to me personally for both of you. Anyone else?
Yeah, I've had this asked me over and over and over again, and it kind of echoes back to what Mr. Turner asked you. Who's running the jail?
I'm running the jail.
Are you running it solely or with your group?
Well, there's a team of people that operate the sheriff's office. I can't run every segment of the sheriff's office. We have a chief jailer, if you want to call him that, a major in charge of that. We've got a major in charge of SROs. We've got a major in charge of CID and patrol. I got a deputy chief back here that they answer to, and operations are running normally, but we're operating the sheriff's office, and that.
Can you tell us that Sheriff Arnold is not having any input in it whatsoever?
He asks questions. He asks what's going on, but he doesn't say hire this person, hire this person. No, sir, he doesn't do that. We have a system by which we have set up a board that all of these applicants have to appear before. There's a score sheet. The only thing that I've changed is the moderator can no longer score. He or she can no longer gather all of the score sheets and tally up the scores. I've got a third person now that's doing that, that's not connected with this board, so they never know who scored higher than X or Y or Z or anything like that. They don't know that, but we have a very diverse board that they have to appear before, And then they're scored on education, experience, the interview process, and then those score sheets are turned into the moderator, then sent to an individual in our HR, which scores those sheets and then presents those names of the top applicants to me through the deputy chief. And we sat down and looked at those names, and I can assure you, I'm only familiar with probably one person that's been going through the interview process, I think. The rest of them, I know absolutely nothing about them. And that's the case with most of them. You hire them off the list as they're scored. So yes, sir. We're doing the hiring. I'm doing the hiring.
You have the final say so.
Yes, sir.
It's good to know.
Thank you much, Chief.
Thank you, Chairman.
Thanks, Chief. Have a good evening.
Y'all too.
Did we approve this before?
No, Keith, we talked to him
Okay,
first.
Keith, I'll do that.
Okay.
I didn't want that to have a report.
And I was gonna say, we didn't have one
Hello?
budget amendment tonight.
No.
Until right
Well,
now.
not that close, right? How's everybody
That would have been
singing?
a first. But this is a simple one.
I promise.
Yeah. Okay, we'll go ahead and take I guess the budget's the first thing we have in front of us.
Okay. The first one is to recognize revenue for the 2017 Bureau of Justice Assistance State Criminal Alien Assistance Grant, or SCAP grant, to print inmate handbooks. And then the second one is just to transfer within our budget from law enforcement equipment. It's $21,366, actually just going into uniforms. And this is for the crossing guards uniforms. It's a more suitable account, line item to put it in instead of law enforcement equipment.
You heard the request. Any questions?
Motion to approve the request.
Second?
Motion and a second. Further questions?
Just one quick question. Is this for illegal aliens that are convicted of a crime?
This one, which are you talking about?
The SCAP grant.
The SCAP grant? Actually, that applies to,
I'm just trying to understand where the criminal alien part comes in. Unless I'm completely missing. What-
They gotta be in Spanish.
you have to have, yeah, I mean, this is for anybody that's incarcerated. The handbooks are written, if you take one of our inmate handbooks and open it up, the very first half of it is in English and the
So
second
it's
half is in
regardless of
Spanish.
documented status.
Yeah, if they're
That's what
incarcerated,
I-
they get a copy of this handbook.
That's what I'm just trying to
Well,
figure out.
it also protects us as far as against liability.
Well, sure, it's a bigger question of, it's probably a much deeper question than for this committee, but related to, when we pick up individuals that are illegal,
Mhm.
what do we do, outside of not just paying for this, do we alert immigration authorities?
There
and then-
are
or
ways that
how's
we can pursue that during their adjudication process. There are, matter of fact, there are consular contacts that we can use, because a lot of the things that we find out in the States, and I'm sure y'all are aware of this, everybody thinks that people are coming directly across the border, or
Right,
from
yeah.
directly across the border.
Right.
And that's not the case. They're from South American countries and other places well beyond there, so we can't just take them back. So we have to notify consulates in many cases.
Okay.
to
I just was
make
curious
an arrangement for these people.
The name just seemed to indicate to me that it was, a big part of this was illegal aliens that were creating some of these challenges where handbooks weren't in Spanish or whatever the native
And
tongue
that's a
might
big,
be.
that's a big part of that.
Okay. Sorry to get us off track.
No, you're
but
fine.
that's-
You
it seems
found
like
a
it would
different lane
save
there,
us.
so.
Well, it would save us some money if we would help enforce some of the immigration laws we have and worry about this. Again, I'm not looking for reaction, just.
Understood.
We're paying for this, but again, I digress.
Understood.
Do you have deputy who speaks Spanish?
We do. We have a few. We're hoping to get more. Matter of fact, I just had a person reach out to me. We used to do a lot of classes at other agencies I was with for, we call it Survival Street Spanish for patrol, and we also had it for dispatch, because that's another issue. We have the availability of a language line. However, when the language line is used, we incur the cost unless it is a 911 call. 911 will pay for the language line to be used if it's a 911 call. Now, if we have someone who's calling in on an admin line and want to talk to a deputy about whatever, and unfortunately we have to determine what language that happens to be. The language line can give us people who speak in multiple languages and dialects. However, the only time that we're paid for that is if it's a 911 call. If we decide to call that, it's a fairly expensive thing to do. So it would behoove us in the future, and we're going to look at next year's training budget. I had a dispatcher find some information for me recently that sent over to look at the possibility of bringing in someone and hosting a Spanish for communicators class. We have some folks in there that can do that, and we're finding the need to do that more often. I've personally been on a traffic stop backing up a trooper in the last few months, and we had no one on shift to do it at the time, so I actually called a person in Smyrna that I knew could speak, and he translated for us.
Is that the biggest language challenge or growing foreign language in our county would be Spanish?
Yes,
or needs-
yes,
okay.
yes. We have a variety of things. We have Eastern European personnel. We have Burmese people in the Smyrna area, in that area, up in Laverne. You have that too. So again, you've got to have a variety of folks.
Further questions? Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Gurley?
Yes.
Commissioner Nipper?
Yes.
Commissioner Piercy?
Yes.
Commissioner Reed?
Yes.
Commissioner Sereno?
Yes.
Commissioner Turner?
Yes.
Commissioner Schaefer?
Yes.
In regard to the report,
Gasoline, it's showing down for, that's what, 66% or something. Is it?
you may have seen a drop on this report since we had, for instance, we had SROs and other people not using the vehicles during a little spot during the summer. You're not going to have a whole lot of vehicular travel during that window.
Yeah, it says 58% is what's
That's a
left.
pretty good, that's a pretty significant run.
58.
But we're not 4 months through yet, that's what I'm wondering, is it,
Well, some of this is still encumbered. There's like 2 or 3 POs that's encumbered right now, so
okay,
you're
so
seeing that's in the.
because this is through September, right?
Right.
Okay.
We're talking about usage.
They do run their own tanks out there, so.
Okay. And I just noticed the food in the jails, food supplies, what is that, 422?
That's 422.
Yeah. And it's 2/3 right now. Is that again, would some of that be still encumbered that is done there? I mean, you know, that's been a big one the last
That one
couple
always
years.
runs close, does
Yeah.
it not?
Right, it does always
And-
run.
And I
We
guess
always
it's
have
probably
to
too
ask.
early to tell, but it's just an.
Is that one that's normally transferred toward the end of the year? Do we normally?
We do.
so-
We usually always have to ask for money.
Yeah.
Hopefully we got those. Are there any questions on the report? If not, we'll entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the report as presented.
A motion, we have a second. Second. Any other questions? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Some,
Yes,
on
sir.
what we got on the internet, okay, from Lieutenant Pace?
Yes, Lieutenant Pace, yes.
Yeah. Under the SROs, it showed 9 felony arrests this, in September. Which and all the rest of the year was only 14. And I'm just wondering, was that one single incident?
There were some arrests made in a single incident, but they have actually stepped up. They have been very active. The SROs have been incredibly active. With all the situations we've had with threats of weapons and things of that nature of late, we had a high saturation recently that you've probably heard about at one of the high schools. I'm not going to say where, but that was within the last little over a month ago. And we deployed several deputies to that point, and we actually did saturate 2 schools that were fairly close to one another. I personally went out myself and made sure that what was going on that day, that operation, and sat and talked to some of them and made sure that the people were interacting. They didn't have a lot of interaction with the parents. Normally, when something like that goes on, there's usually a lot of questions to be asked, which was really surprising. I talked to Commander Goff about that. Major Goff and I spoke, and he said there were not that many people inquiring, but they've been incredibly active and working on those things. And to answer one of the questions you had earlier, talking about, for instance, some of the rural schools, if we have to do certain things, for instance, and I talked to Commander Goff today, and he said, for instance, Christiana, where you have 2 schools that are 200 yards apart, a lot of times one of those officers will go between those two schools. If that officer has to step out, the other will step on between, and substitute between the two schools as well. So when they have somebody out, he's got a few going out on, for instance, FMLA, that being the case, we'll backfill, try to make sure that those schools that are close to one another are the ones that we can put somebody in so we can offset it slightly. Keep close coverage.
I got another question for you, and this is under warrants.
Yes, sir.
And it says 18 inmates were transported in September. That's what it said.
In warrants, warrant pickups? Yes.
Yeah. And 7 driven miles, that's what it says, and 276 deputies, and it just...
The numbers aren't...
I figured it was just a misprint or something.
I think it's probably more than a misprint. And the other thing you saw on the report, you also noticed under patrol, there's no numbers there. That is another issue with Psalms. We're still trying to get that fixed, but we had to set our priorities. We had an issue with the incident-based reporting system, which is the state called TIBERS.
Yeah.
And we were trying to get compliant on that. We have since started working on that. Significant work done on that. I'm happy to report tonight, as of this last weekend, we submitted all 3 months that we were behind. We were worried about having 3 months. We submitted one. We didn't want to submit the other 2 because that counts against you. So we submitted one, and we knew the other 2 were bad. The error reports were incredibly high, almost half, almost 50%. We had the software manipulated. We had it looked at and corrected. We had some of the changes applied that should have been applied prior. And now, as of this last Friday, the reports were submitted, and we're right above 2%, and our mandated is 4. So we're within our target range. We'll be getting a letter, obviously, saying that we're absolutely good to go again. Now, I told them I want to know something starting the 1st. Matter of fact, next Tuesday, we're going to start looking at this month, and I want to start looking at it because we have until the 10th to submit. That gives us, I want a little bit of a window to be able to work with this and be able to correct any issues that might arise. It's a tight window, but I also got an email today from the state of Tennessee saying that the FBI is going to change the frequency in which we report, and the changes of these reports will take place. So we're going to have to stay on top of that, and that is the problem we're running into with the Psalms. And I know we beat that horse off over and over again. We just run it down. But that's where we're running into most of these errors and these anomalies that we get with these numbers that just really make absolutely no sense. And that's where we're running into things at. And between scanning data, between entering data, that's where we have problems. And again, that's something we'll discuss a little farther down the road. The CAD project, just to summarize real quick, the CAD project is on target. We're about 5 weeks out from going live. We had said that we wanted to promise you guys that we were going to come up with that product and have it done before the end of the year. That is still the target. We're training constantly. Matter of fact, we've got training going on. They're going to be training in classes set up for daytime and nighttime to accommodate people's hours that they work and to offset the number of people that we have to pay overtime. And matter of fact, tomorrow another public safety entity will be over at 911 training for the next 4 days on their version of CAD. We trained last week, our people did, and we'll have more of our people training. It's hard to train, you're talking about over 100 communicators have to be trained on this thing. So doing that in a room where you're putting maybe 15 to 20 at a time, you're going to have several classes. Plus, you don't want to mix up the models, if you will. The training for EMS dispatch, even though it's CAD, will be a little bit different because of the codes and types and the response types. So they're going to train separately at Murfreesboro PD. For police and fire will do that, and so will county. EMS is going to be taking over dispatch for Chief Farley. So they're training on the fire dispatch as well. So we're trying to get all that squared away. They're still going to be getting all the calls coming into us. It'll be a transfer aspect, so, but it's still on track.
Further questions? Thank you all very much.
Well, the one thing I did want to say to the commission tonight, I want to bring 2 things up. One thing is next Monday night we'll be doing the trunk or treat at the sheriff's office. That's from 4 till 7 p.m. where they'll have trick or treating in the parking lot there in front of the sheriff's office. The other thing is much less. We have a lieutenant who is undergoing some significant treatment for a severe illness. Lieutenant Corder, she's one of our detention lieutenants, has been with us for several years. And I just want you to keep her in your thoughts and prayers if you don't mind. And she's got a significant issue to consider, and she's undergoing chemo and some other things right now. So if you guys wouldn't mind, I'd appreciate it.
For sure. And I'd like you to say one thing about the two officers out in the Kittrell area and that
Yes,
incident
sir.
out there. You know, it's awful nice when they came out with only shots were fired by the assailant, and nobody was hurt. So all you had to do is pick up the papers around the country, and well, I'm sure you'll be recognized.
I was in a classroom at the moment that took place about officer-involved shootings. And the fact that we didn't have to exercise any of those things, and the fact that they're training, and they're, the fact that we train to react, or to not react, technically, and their resilience there, and the fact that their restraint, knowing that a person is actually firing more than a couple rounds at you. One's plenty, more than plenty. But the fact is that what they did, and it could have been a tragedy that day, as I told them. It could have been for them. It could have been a tragedy for that young man that was still in to pull that weapon, and for his family. But I'm very proud of how they reacted, and I talked to both of them that evening and to make sure they were okay. So
we had when I was flying over in Southeast Asia back in the early 70s, we had a saying, and some guys even put it on the plaque: if there was ever something that would blow your mind, getting shot at was it. So I can imagine how they feel. Well, thank you all very much.
Have a great evening.
Thank you. Ask Deputy Mayor if he would just tell us a couple things about, we're not going to let him off the hook tonight. It's just about the mental health court, where it stands, and how the general sessions judge is working out at the jail.
The Judge Eyeshot is doing well out at the jail. The sheriff's office is doing a great job enhancing the court space out there. And it's built a private space for the DA and a private space for the public defender. They've wired it so if you're out in the waiting area of the sheriff's office of the jail, you can view on a TV what's going on inside the jail. So a lot of good teamwork over there, making sure things up to date and professional. In October, we didn't have a criminal justice coordinating council meeting. We've had one every month up until now, but we had the pre-trial risk assessment training that took place in October, and that went real well. We had participation from the Smyrna Judicial Commissioners as well. There'll be some more training and some other activities that need to take place before that's actually put into place in the jail. Hope to have that done relatively soon. Tomorrow I'll go with Judge Tidwell to Nashville to attend another meeting on mental health courts. He's ready to get started. He wanted to get started in November. It may not be until January that we can actually get started. But I expect it to sometime between November and January, because he's really wanting to start with just one case if he has to. So expect the mental health court to be started no later than January. So I think we're making pretty good progress. It's not going as fast as I'd like for it to go, but it's gonna happen.
It's going faster than Burton Street.
One of the biggest problems we have is the software. Sheriff's Office mentioned it. We had the challenge in the circuit court clerk's office a couple of years ago. That's going to have to be something we continue to work on. The circuit court clerk is moving to Tensis. If you remember, we approved that about 2 months ago. Once we get the CAS, we get the RMS, we'll start having really a soup to nuts system that will, I think, really speed up and make to have more facts and figures, be able to peel the onion back a lot more, to look at some of these areas and see where we can do a little more, work to improve the system. And I'm with the Sheriff's Department trying to get this whole thing, completed as soon as we possibly can. We did have the Rutherford County Community Cares meeting, and that's provided a little bit of benefit right now. We had a follow-up meeting with Middle Tennessee State University, and they're looking to partner with us and maybe apply for some additional grant money so we can use them in some of the efforts we've got going on. Their chair for the Department of Social Work, spent some time with myself and Judge Eyeshot and Trey King. So we're making progress. I think we're going to work towards a better system and work to improve the whole judicial system here in the county.
Anybody got anything else? We're adjourned.
Thank you.